quick hack. When I first bought this stove, there was a bit of like texture right here and certain parts around these words. So right now, looking at this stove, it actually looks like the stove is just really dirty. This entire panel is pretty much like a soft plastic, right? So you can't clean this with soap and water, but over time, what happens is this stuff starts to wear out, like right here, as you can see. So what I decided I was gonna do is to make that look not so messy or look like it's dirty, I'm just gonna help the process by taking my fingernail and get it off. Now, here is why I elected not to use this, right? I think this is good for, you know, when you wet your stove top here to get off some things, for example. So let's just do that, right? So as you can see, that makes a big difference, right? But then again, surfaces like these can take that kind of abuse or scrape, as long as you get some moisture in there, right? Because this is ceramic or glass or whatever it is. However, you can't do that up here because this blade is sharp enough where it will leave some scratches, okay? So if you are brave enough to try this, I would say put very light, if any pressure at all here, and go, right? But most people will be tempted to put a lot more pressure on it and do more damage than help, right? So sometimes in the course of me scraping this, the very corners of the blade will get caught, and then there's where I introduce a scratch here or there. So I think, for me, I'll just exercise some patience and just do it with my fingernail because it's not as soft, or I may actually go and get something like a credit card. Yeah, that might actually be good. So I'll let you guys know the end results. Let me first try out this business card, see what that does. Too flimsy. Here's from a little adventure the family did. It's like a credit card, just a stick, so I'm gonna use that instead. And works like a champ. So I'll finish this up and let you guys see the end results when it's all over. So far, here it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some cleaner and attempt to you know, just wipe down the rest of it. But here's all the debris from scraping that stuff off with my K1 speed card here. Yeah. So next I'm gonna be dealing with all of this stuff right here, right? And there's actually stove top cleaners for stuff like this. So let's get it. So the first thing I want to do is start with just some water that I poured on the stove earlier, just to try to wipe up as much debris as possible so I can get a more accurate feel for what I need to scrape or where. This stove is definitely about 10 years or more older. So given that this is a ceramic top, let me explain to you all what is going on here, right? Over time, the metal from the bottom of your pots, they will leave scrapes, scratches, and whatever, and you know, it is what it is. And it's a lot harder to do than it looks. This is really just a lot of wear over time, right? As you can see, we don't use the warmer section as much as all of the other stoves when we're cooking full meals and big pots and stuff like that, right? So obviously this is going to be a lot more scratched up on surface. And then usually what happens on the outer rings right here, those parts can be cleaned up because some of that is actual food that is basically stuck on. As you can see, I'm scraping some of it off just at the circle or the line of the circle. So I'm gonna put just a little slight pressure on here to, you know, give it to you guys in real time so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's that, right? And so some of this is going to have to be scraped off first. So the way I'm going to start this party off, so I'm not as abrasive, is I'm going to put a little palm olive here and there. It's probably overkill, and I'm going to drop some water in the mix and spread that around, right? And then I'm just basically going to you know, treat in and around all of these places. And the reason for the palm olive is just to help the razor blade slide a little more smoother across the surface. And then we're gonna take it to that next step. So here we go. So in a very uniform motion, I'm gonna start on one edge and I'm just gonna work my way one lane at a time until I get across this whole thing. And as you can see, it's pretty smooth out here because these are parts generally not used with heat or pot scraping across. But as I get right in here, you can see probably right there is where I start to get into the crud. So I'm gonna just do this back and forth until it's all up. All right, so here's where I'm at so far. I'm probably gonna have to change out the blade. So I'm gonna just get some of this water and soap up, let things dry a bit, and see what it's looking like so far. So here's what everything looks like so far. Definitely still have some touch-up spots to deal with, maybe around in here, for example. But we're gonna continue the process, so let's get it. Okay, everybody, I know all of the glare is not really doing justice here, but I put a little elbow grease and I did not have to change the blade here, so it's still looking pretty good. I just kind of, in some places, went not only like this, but up on more of an aggressive angle here and really put a little bit of pressure on it because there was a lot of debris around the rings of all of these, and as you can see, pretty much got all of that up. But there are some spots where just over time, again, the bottoms of the pots and pans will leave little scratch marks. But I can assure you guys that to touch this, like if I were blindfolded, that will feel pretty smooth to touch. But there's some stuff you can do to help that out. Again, the warming section is obviously not used as much as the rest of the main cooking elements underneath there. But overall, even if I stopped right there, the stove is generally clean. This here will need some soapy water to enhance that. Again, this part is plastic, so you have to really be careful with things like razor blades. Like here's a scratch right here, for example, and I think there's actually a crack right there. I don't know how that happened, but overall, it just generally looks better than it did. So yeah. So here's what I'm gonna be dealing with. I'm gonna use this right here for the stainless steel parts of the stove. Stainless steel, of course, stainless steel in and around. And I will be using this right here on the glass cooktop part. So let's get to work. So I basically sprayed this onto a paper towel, and there it is wiped on. I'll let that sit for a little bit, and then I'll just continue to wipe it off until it's all nice and shiny. Not sure what that's gonna do to the plastic here, but I'm not above testing out theories, right? See what happens. So I'll let you guys know. Okay, so here's the end results of the stainless steel cleaner. And I did kind of rub some in there, but I took a brand new paper towel here and basically buffed it out of there in here, and it's looking really, really good. So there's still some scratches, right? But I mean, you have to really be looking for that. So from a perspective of back here, it's like looking really nice. So good call to scrape all that extra, whatever that was, part of the design off of with the credit card there, but it's looking nice. So next we're gonna deal with this right here, the glass top. So as with anything, I guess it's always a good idea to give it a good shake. Yep. So it's pretty simple, really. It wants us to put some of this on the glass cooktop. And in case you guys aren't aware, you're supposed to do this when the stove is completely cool to touch. So my stove has been off all night. And I'm gonna work that in and buff it around with the paper towel until it's shiny. And that's it. So let's get to work. So here's where we at after the buff. It's looking better, you know. I think I'm gonna do one more coat though. So here's that after the second coat. Might as well take care of that too, right? And there it is when it's all said and done.